program chair here at Harrison College in Indianapolis, Indiana, and just wanted to take some time to talk to you about Mindtap and how it's helped me as an instructor and how it's benefited my students. So the first question is, what pain points do you often face in your classroom? So I could sit up here and probably talk for 10-15 minutes about the different pain points that I have been faced with as an instructor, but there are really two that probably stand out to me were the biggest to overcome and the first one was really keeping my students engaged, because at Harrison most of our classes are 4 hours long, and so each class I was having to find activities or whatnot to keep the students engaged, because nobody wants to have that instructor that stands up there and talks for 4 hours long. The students are not engaged, they're disinterested, they become bored very easily if somebody stands up there and talks for 4 hours. So they're typically not going to retain that information that you're going over. So I think that was the biggest thing, was coming up with different activities to keep them engaged, and then also appealing to the different learners that were in my classroom. So I predominantly focus in Surg Tech, but I also teach some of the medical terminology, the anatomy and physiology, and med law and ethics classes that medical assistants, medical billing and coding, and massage therapists take. So I'm not dealing with just Surg Techs, so everybody learns differently, and I think that was another piece to it. So the other pain point probably was trying to keep up on grading. Teaching multiple classes, sometimes you can get bogged down with the grading. So I think that was probably another big pain point that I had when I first became an instructor. How does Mindtap for Healthcare alleviate some of these pain points? So I think the biggest thing is Mindtap allows you to do a variety of things. So it's not the same old routine of, okay, I'm going to lecture and then we're going to do this and this each week. So with Mindtap, you can mix it up, and depending on what course it is, Mindtap has a variety of different activities that you can complete. There's games for the students, there's simulations, there's the speed grader option, which has been wonderful for me for the grading. So depending on the textbook, most of your textbooks that are integrated with Mindtap have pre-populated quizzes or pre-populated tests that you can even import your own test, create your own test, and as long as it's multiple choice, matching, then it will automatically grade. So the student, as soon as they hit submit, then it automatically grades that and gives them that score instantly. So you're not left to grade by hand or mess with the Scantron machine, and so it's all paperless, and it goes automatically into your grade book, so that way you're not trying to record stuff or put stuff in the LMS system that you may operate with. So it's been a huge time saver for me, and actually has allowed me to open up some other time to complete some other projects that I had wanted to complete. And it also, Mindtap has allowed me to flip the classroom, which I think most of the students like, because again, it's something different. It's not that lecture up in front of the classroom, boring, keeping them engaged. So I like to lecture usually for about an hour is my max, because I find that students become disinterested, they're bored, and they're not going to retain that information. So flipping the classroom puts that back in the students' court and allows them to complete some activities, group interaction, especially if it's with multiple programs. If you're teaching classes with multiple programs, they may not get to know their other classmates if they're not in that program. So dividing them up into groups, let's complete a case study that's on Mindtap. Or make it a friendly competition for some extra credit points or whatever. There's different quizzes that you can do where you could easily have different, games and compete against one another, and everybody loves a good friendly competition. So it's allowed me to do that, and like I said, students typically like it because it's something different outside of their norm. The other thing is it allows for simulations. So I was also finding that I was spending a lot of time lecturing and just walking through different skill sets. And with Mindtap, depending on the field you're in, a lot of times they have simulations in there where the student can go in and drag and drop stuff. So if you allow them to do that at home, And so they're doing that on the front end. And so when they come into the classroom, they already have a better understanding of what skill set you're going to go over in the lab. And so hopefully they're fine-tuning that skill set. And so you're not wasting a lot of time of that lecture. You can go straight to that hands-on in the lab setting. So I have found that that has helped me tremendously with my students. Instead of wasting time in the lab where I was constantly going over stuff, they're able to practice those simulations at home prior to coming in, and then they can go straight to the hands-on and stuff when we get in the lab. What is one recommendation you'd provide a colleague if they chose to use Mindtap? I think the biggest thing would be don't be afraid to just jump in and utilize it. So I have found that what may work for my med-term class may not work for my surge tech class. So it's going to be a lot of trial and error. Try a little bit of everything. See what works for you, what works for your students, and get feedback from your students. Don't be afraid to ask them, well, did you guys like that activity? If not, you all seemed kind of bored. So get feedback from your students. But I think the big thing is go in there, try everything, do a little bit of everything, and see what you think will work for you and what will work for your class. So I hope that this has helped you, and it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks.